Well, I'll tell you what, we've been fishing all day. We've caught about 5 fish. Surely you all have experienced, great day to be out, but not a very good day for catching. Since there's not much developing here, I want to take you back to about 3 years ago. I went with Bob on a tributary off the Mississippi River, not far from St. Louis, and watched Bob put a clinic on river bass.
Every chance I get, there's a place I go where the bass are biting as the sun hangs low. There's a feeling I get that I hope will never end. On a deep, clear lake or an Ozark stream, I kick back, relax, and I start to dream about what Mother Nature has waiting around the bend. Hey, Larry and Bob will take me there today. My gear's packed up and I just can't wait to get out on my way. Outdoors in the heartland is like coming home to an old friend. That city life is not for me. There's fun as far as I can see. The great outdoors is where I want to be. Outdoors in the heartland.
Your Quality Ford dealers present Outdoors in the Heartland with Bob Richardson and Larry Woodward. This segment of Outdoors in the Heartland is brought to you by Ford and your Quality Ford dealers. Mercury Marine, Motor Guide, Never Stop, Strike King, #1 in fishing lures, Browning, the best there is, and Triton Boats, we take America fishing.
What a beautiful boat ride. As a fisherman, I get guys ask me, don't you ever get tired of fishing? I guess my answer would be no. Got river systems all over the Midwest, whether it's the Mississippi, the Missouri, the Illinois, the Iowa River, and pretty well most of the states in the country have got river systems, and most river systems we're going to find have got bass, whether largemouth, smallmouth, little Kentucky bass. When we talk about bass fishing in the rivers, we're not going to go catch Godzilla today. These little river fish, they fight the current, they fight Mother Nature big time. This particular creek here off the river, just 7 days ago, was 8 or 9 foot higher. We had a flash flood. It comes swooping through here. It cleans everything out, makes the banks muddy, makes the water muddy. But what we get in some of these is where some of these creeks that drains out of the hills and comes in here has clearer water, and that's what we're looking for. And this is the first part of June. Normally I would be going back up into these creeks looking for spawning bass, but I'm pretty certain today that most of these fish has already spawned out. So I'm going to work my way up in here. I think today I'm going to throw a spinnerbait, I'm going to throw a jig. I think them 2 baits, maybe a crawl, works real well in any of these river systems. And anytime you can find any little isolated piece of wood, a little laydown, a tree branch, a stick, a stub, that's what we're looking for. Hey folks, I'm Bob Richardson. Hope you're going to enjoy today the show as much as I am going to bring it to you. It's basically going to be some river rat fishing for some largemouth bass. Don't go away. We'll be right back with more Outdoors in the Heartland right after this.
Check out oith.com or go to facebook.com/Outdoors in the Heartland. Every week there's going to be prizes, giveaways, and contests.
This segment of Outdoors in the Heartland is brought to you by Ford and your quality Ford dealers, and Mercury Marine.
You know, probably one of my favorite baits to throw in, as you see, not quite chocolate right here, but I think as we get up in this creek, it's going to clear up. Pretty stained water is a jig. Of course, if a guy asked me what color jig, well, in this kind of water, it would probably be one of three things. A black and blue jig, a black and blue jig, or a black and blue jig. So if you got my point, we're going to throw a black and blue jig today. Well, that's what we're looking for. These river fish are like on steroids. They're used to fighting this current, and this is actually a really good fish. This is, I would love to have this guy in any tournament. That is a incredible little fish. First fish of the day, that's a 3-pound solid fish. Good, healthy looking fish, probably spawned out, and that's the way to start out a morning. There you go, buddy. What we have is a football jig, nylon weed guard, but Strike King on this new football jig has put just an incredibly sharp hook. And I'm going to bend this skirt back, and as you can see, as this hook comes down, it has a bait keeper. And I am going to put on a Rage, and of course it's going to be black and blue too. This bait pretty simple. You just thread it on, and you get it right there. And what it does, it's going to slide down, and you push it over that bait keeper, and now the hook comes out. It makes a really nice compact jig. Now, since I bent that nylon weed guard, which kind of not keeps you out of the weed as much, but we're going to be fishing isolated timbers and laydowns, and then we're going to be throwing into the nasty, nasty stuff, and that's usually where these bass hide out. Well, he came right back. Again, if you've seen, the last one I caught was right on the upper end where that current's come in. They're sitting there just looking for an ambush. And another good little fish. Pretty little quality fish. But if you look, you can actually, when you look at that tree, you can actually see the back side of that. A lot more water clarity right here. Now what I'm throwing here, I'm throwing a 6.5 foot medium heavy rod. I've got one of the new Arden. It has, if you look, it has no drag system. The drag is manufactured and set at 27.5, 28 pounds. So when you lean back and gonna set the hook, that baby is going to come. You ride your thumb on the spool and not on the line. Don't take a lot of line, but when you're flipping and pitching isolated cover, well, it will work. Pretty little thing. Pretty. Better fish. Might catch up with him. This is a good river fish. Where's this one? I needed you, baby. Oh. Come here. Come here. Easy, easy. And I said we wouldn't catch any big fish today. Look at that. Look at that hog.
I said there wasn't any hogs. That is a toad for the river. Man, that's just a real unusual fish, and he ate that jig up. What a pretty fish. Whew. Put this bad boy back.
Fish.
Yeah.
That is another little chunky thing. You know, a lot of times fish are so finicky, some jigs they like and some they don't. They just eat this thing up. And you know, I've lost one craw the whole time, but he's just a good looking little fish. Even this jig, as you can see, we've probably got 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 inches of water clarity, and I think as we move back up in here, the water will even get clearer. Now, understanding, we had a rain yesterday up in here in these hills that we're talking about. It's probably 2.5, 3 inches, and I'm hoping in some areas we had flash floods, so I'm hoping it hasn't muddied where I'm wanting to fish. Now what I'll do is, since there's no isolated structure until I get up here, I'll probably then, I'll take advantage of that. I'll grab this spinnerbait. Now again, this is a little 3/8, mostly chartreuse, a little bit of white in it. Strike King, it's got a small Colorado, it's got a bigger Colorado, but you can see, this is a little short arm compact bait. These are just little short casts, and these fish are really tight to the bank. It's good to be able to learn how not to only pitch a jig or flip a jig, but if you can pull that, reel that in about the same distance from the reel, where you can take it in your hand and just lay it up there. And when it hits the water, it's not going to spook them fish. A lot of times them fish are spooked anyway. They've had water dropping over them. They got fish chasing them. They got predators after them. They got turtles and gars trying to eat them up. And that bait hits the water and makes a big splash, it's going to run them off. So if you can learn how to pitch not only a jig but a spinnerbait, I think you'll get a few more bites.